Hello and everyone on YouTube. We're streaming this webinar live to you and we're starting in about 4 minutes now. We're almost ready. Oh, and before we begin, you can ask us a question using Q&A section, or if you're on YouTube, in a comments section as well. We'll be happy to answer them at the end of our presentation. And we're ready to begin. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Explain Everything. My name is Bart, and together with me, there's Kuba online. Kuba, can you hear us?
Oh, yeah. Hello, everyone. I'm happy to be with you today and answer questions on chat and in the Q&A. And I will send your questions to Bart, and we'll be happy to help him today with presenting these examples. So
Kuba has a very special role today, as we're going to do a little role playing here, and Kuba is going to be a parent, and obviously I'm here to explain everything. So go ahead, ask us a question. But session today is devoted to a very specific perspective, a perspective of a parent. So Kuba, this session is for you. I need to make sure that you have all the answers to support your child when learning using Explain Everything. Are you ready, Kuba?
Yes, I'm ready.
Fantastic. So let me show you what we prepared for you today. We do have a short guide that we'll share with you later after the session that by what we think will be able to answer most of your questions. So we'll use this guide today, showing you what to do if your student, your child received code to a project and needs to do homework using Explain Everything, or join a session on Explain Everything where lecture is provided by a teacher. And that's what we're going to look into today. So why don't we begin with a scenario where there's a lecture to be attended and teacher shared access code to that lesson. Kuba, do you already know what you should do in such situation?
Right. So the I know as me though, if I'm about to be role playing this, I guess my question would be what is a code, or how did we get it?
So code can be obtained in many ways. Well, I assume there is a learning system at your school, and one of those solutions is actually used to provide students with information, including codes to connect to a session with teacher. And what Explain Everything does, it works well with those solutions as Google Classroom, Schoology, Canvas. So there are many more, of course, but in this case, it might be a code that is shared by a teacher using different system. That's still okay. You'll be able to use it with Explain Everything. It might be a code shared in an email. That's still fine, right, Kuba?
Mm-hmm. All right. Yeah. So I essentially received a code that contains several characters in whatever means that my school uses, and now I have this code. So what am I supposed to do with it?
Right. You should go to explaineverything.com. So that's explain in everything.com. This is not staged. This is a live presentation. That's why some things might go wrong. And this is a very infantile color I have in the background of that object. I'll fix it right away. So if you go there, you'll immediately find this field. Oh, actually, that's a different website. We do have 2 access points. So regardless if you're on Drive or here, right, or here, you should be able to find this field that says enter code, right?
All right.
And if you use this field to put in your code, and I'll demonstrate it real quick with my little recording. If you put in your code, you'll immediately access a session that is shared by teacher. So in this example, the session is opening up, and I'll just remove myself from this window. A walking thumbnail. Yeah. You can access microphone. There was a question if you want to use microphone, because audio can be also transmitted using Explain Everything. So that might be useful. So let's choose yes and mute ourselves at the very beginning. And you see, after that, you're just miraculously connected to the session that runs under the code that was shared with you. And you can browse between slides as I demonstrate here. This is a slide sorter, so you can move between the slides. And one thing to notice is that sometimes those images might be blurry at the very beginning. You noticed that, Kuba, right? This slide was blurry. Do you know why this happened?
Well, I assume it loads just because it's in the cloud. So maybe that's why.
Exactly. So that's the process of loading. And depending on your network, it might take longer or faster. These are high resolution slides, and maybe that's why we observe this. It might be not something that you will even notice. There is one, however, thing that is quite fascinating is that Explain Everything is created with collaboration in mind. But here, after loading the session, after opening the session, we don't see any tools, right?
Right.
Why is that, Kuba? Do you have any idea?
Oh, I know, but should I be apparent right now? No, I mean, yeah, I know. It's just you've disabled the ability to edit this project.
Right, so that's a property of the project. That is something that was purposely set by teacher, because when you open up a project by default, it's a project for collaboration. But if teacher changes properties of the project, those tools will not be visible for students. That means that from a perspective of your child, you can move between slides, you can scale using this tool here. That's the zoom and pan and zoom tool. So we can use that, or just slide sorter to move between slides. This presentation here contains 4 slides, but sometimes those presentations might be just contain just a single slide. So then you would need to use the scale tool to move around, unless teacher will change perspective for you.
All right.
So what is interesting here is that here I move around between those slides. That's the slide number 2 now. And now I move back to previous slide. You notice there was a little hint when I hovered my mouse pointer above this button. Now, there might be a situation where teacher wants your child to participate in this presentation. So he or she will trigger on editing functionality. And this is something that will be illustrated presently. There is a notification, sharpen your pencils. And as you see, tools appeared here on left side of the screen, meaning that we can do single edits or improvements such as these here. We can change slides and mess around with content a bit, as I'll demonstrate on this short recording. So we can take elements out and perhaps change the order a bit, just to surprise teacher during the lecture. So that's obviously permitted, because on Explain Everything, everyone has the same set of tools, including teacher, if we're in this editing mode. And that's why that's usually the situation. Teacher will take the tools off as now, and as you see, no editing is possible.
All right. So there, I have a couple of questions actually. Or do you want to follow up?
Oh, no, please go ahead.
Okay, so because right now I am not signed in, right? I've just put in the code and there I am in the project with you. So
Correct.
do I need to have an account in order to join you in the session?
You don't need an account. So as we demonstrated, we just use explaineverything.com without any account to join the session, because that was the session where teacher was already present on. Teacher was waiting for students to connect.
Right. So in this scenario, I'm as a student, I'm connecting to the teacher that's on the whiteboard, and we are going to work together there, right?
Correct.
Okay, got it.
Because teacher leads session for students. Right. So that's the situation. Okay. That means also that as unregistered user, you as a student, you won't be able to save contents of this lecture. Well, that's quite all right if you're just listening to the lecture. However, if you want to create an account using this view, even when listening to the lecture, you can, because you have this button here, sign in, where you can create an account at any moment.
All right, got it. So if my school has, say, provided the accounts, it is also possible to just sign in and use that account there, right?
Absolutely.
Just using this sign in button. Yeah, okay.
Because then you have additional options on Explain Everything that might be useful in the second scenario that we'll cover, that is group projects. But in terms of like lecture and joining in, is now everything super clear so you can give guidance to your child when needed?
All right.
Yeah. All right. So now, since we covered lecture scenario, let's move to collaborative projects. So that's the other scenario. So collaborative project is a situation where you, again, receive code from teacher, but this time it's not about listening to lectures, it's more about active engagement and preparing, let's say, answers. And in this scenario, we're going to work with Explain Everything. First advice we provide is that if you have different devices at home, we prefer to use tablets instead of computers for one good reason. This Explain Everything is designed as mobile-first experience, that is, experience that allows you to draw with pencil, pen, stylus, however you call this, easily on the canvas of the whiteboard. It's not something that it's so easy to do on a screen of computer. Of course, it's possible, but we suggest to use tablets. And if you want to use tablets, we suggest to use a native app that is provided for iOS, that is Apple devices, Chromebooks, and Android devices as well. So in order to supply yourself with an application, all you need to do is to go to the store. So here's an example of App Store. And I actually have this app installed. So it says open, but it will say here, get, I believe, where you can get Explain Everything. The same with Google devices. Oh, this is a situation here. I don't have this app installed. So I see button install, just get the Explain Everything, and you can access code that is provided by teacher in a similar way, but this time from the application. In order to do that, maybe I can demonstrate where it is. I'll move back to my project screen. Obviously, I do have many projects here, so never mind. If you will just download the app, this screen will be empty, but it will contain this join button here that you can use to put in the code in order to access group project. So that's super simple, I guess, Kuba, don't you think?
Oh, yes, that was actually my next question, whether how to do that in the app. So yeah.
Great. So my advice is to use tablet. You don't need to, but it's just Explain Everything was designed for tablets, so it's best to use it to the fullest extent and have the best experience. If you have a computer with multi-touch screen, it will work very well. So you can use it as well. And way to connect project is actually very similar to what we did in this previous example, when we got access by putting the code on the web page. And we have like 2 access points. If you go to, this is our drive where projects are stored. So you see the code, the search field where you can put the code in here. Or if you go to our product page, that's explaineverything.com, you will again see the field where you can put the code just here. And this will allow you to join your project. Now, when you'll do that and you access your project, we have a kind of like short information about the tools that you should familiarize yourself or your child how to use them. But in full honesty, we never saw children struggle with those tools. Even most, even the youngest of learners, they were able to work their way through the complexity of UI, and it was not troubling for them and or confusing for them at all. But if you would need some guidance from us from a perspective of parent, we suggest to try out the draw tool. And this is a tool I'm using currently, as you see here on the left side of the screen. That's the draw tool. The other is the highlighter, where you can highlight like that. The third one is eraser. It's just here, so I can now remove the highlight that I provided. And the fourth one here, it's the zoom tool that allows you to magnify and move around the canvas with 2 fingers. I'm using 2 fingers now to zoom out or zoom in, or I can use 1 finger just to move around without changing zoom level. The last one is great because that's the tool that we build Explain Everything around. That's the recording functionality of Explain Everything, where you can record yourself with your voice, and by this provide kind of like a video results to the project that you need to create or your child will need to create. So if the answer is going to be in the form of a recorded project, that's the tool here to use. Kuba, since you're in this, we're in this role play here, and Kuba, you're a parent. What kind of questions you have when you look at this rich functionality of Explain Everything? Is
well, this is fairly simple. I think this is pretty clear. Though I think I would be interested in learning how to change colors. Did we go through that? Because I was answering the Q&A actually, and some questions on YouTube.
Oh, right. So let me show that. When you're choosing between highlighter and draw tool here on left side, you actually open the color picker, and the color picker can be moved across the screen by just like that. Or you can change the tool that you provide input with. So that might be pencil or pen. I'm using pen now. And colors are just below. And those colors, there are 2 colors you can select. That's red on red. If it's, okay, that's red on red. That's yellow on white because there's a fill. That means the background can be different. And I'll show you how to use it in a second. But most importantly, when you're just drawing, pay attention to stroke. That's the color that you need. So even if I have a very odd background like black and the stroke is yellow, that means I will write in a yellow color. But if I want to create an object like a circle and close it with this tool here, it will fill with black color. Why? Because this was the color that was picked in this section. So if I want to draw yellow circles with red interior, I need to choose red as my fill color, yellow, that's my stroke color, that's fine. That's my circle. And again, I will fill it with this button here, just like that. Or now with this color, I will fill it just like that. How fun, isn't it? Kuba,
yeah, that's awesome. That's that's very clear.
I know that you're busy on answering questions on Q&A, but maybe there's...
I do my best.
Maybe there is another question that I can answer before we move on.
Where they're more related to the functionalities, licensing groups, and so on. So you can, I think you can go on, and I'll try to answer those like technical questions, and then we will move on to Q&A at the end of the
Fantastic.
the presentation.
Fantastic. So this, what we do here is provided live to you. This is a live stream, but we're going to create a recording out of this, and this recording will be shared. That's why we're trying not to mix too many subjects at the same time. And as Kuba mentioned, we're going to answer remaining questions during Q&A. So that's quite easy. What we provided here. If in order to access project, just put your code to the search field, and I demonstrated how to do it, to do this in the app and in the browser. You then get to the canvas. You can work on your assignment either alone or in the group, because that's the situation that we support. You can have multiple students working together on such canvas. So let's say if code is shared between students, they can actually work together. What they need to make sure of is that to unmute microphone here on the bottom of the screen, let me show you with an arrow. That's the microphone icon. If it's muted, you won't be able to speak, but you'll still hear others. But if it's unmuted, you can communicate with Explain Everything when working in a group. Now, the last thing I wanted to mention to this scenario is that everything you do on the canvas is automatically saved in the cloud. So there is no need to save project. You can leave the project and leave results of the project for teacher to review using the same code. That's all you need to do. All right. Any last question, Kuba, before we move to a quite specific and old-fashioned situation of accessing project using files?
No, we're good. We're good.
Okay.
Let's move on. Yeah.
Because that's quite important. We're in the 21st century, and most of assignments take place in the cloud. So if you receive code, you just access a cloud project to work on. But sometimes those assignments can be shared in a form of a file. And we want to show you how you can support your child when such situation occurs. So this is the third and last situation that I want to cover, is working with a file. So let's assume you're using a tablet and you received a file to work on provided by your teacher. In order to use that file, and I'll leave this project for now to demonstrate this first on my mobile, you can press New, and then use this third button here to import file to the canvas of your whiteboard. And you can take this file from many different places, including local storage of your device. In the result, what you'll end up with is here I have this exercise that is already on my tablet. I can open it and work on solutions to this problem here. So I can measure this, okay. B, that might be 90 degrees. And once I finish working on my assignment, I can share this back by exporting result in the form of a file, if that's the result that I want to share. So if you press result, you actually can decide if you want to have a document that will be PDF or image or project again. So I tapped on document, and as you see, exercise PDF is ready to export, and I can send it as an email, for example, or I can copy it or save it anywhere else where integration of your device allows. So that's how you can work with file using a tablet. As you notice, this is like a less desirable situation because it might be problematic. It's not as straightforward as sharing code with student and using the code by student to provide answers on the cloud session, but it's still working fine. Sometimes some students will not be able to use tablets. So what then? How you can access your assignment that was provided with the file using a web browser. And this is something I want to demonstrate using this short video that I have here. So as you see here, I just started my explain everything in a browser without registering. So let me just rewind back to show you the very beginning. That's our main page, explaineverything.com. And all I do is to click here, try it now to launch our whiteboard. So that's the first thing you can do. If you have already account, log to it, it's going to be easier. But if you don't have it, you can start Explain Everything whiteboard just like that with just one tap. Now, what you'll see is this step. And in this step, you see that you can, as I illustrated on my iPad, use file as a starting point. Do not start blank, just use file. And if you do that, you'll be able to select file on your computer. And as you see in this example, I already have this file that I got, let's say, from email or from learning management system. I have it on my device, so I can select it here. So Explain Everything opens it on the canvas for me to provide edits. Now, pay attention to one thing. Here's this extension explain. The extension explain means that's the project file in Explain Everything format, but it might be PDF, it might be an image. That's still okay. The process would be the same. Just select file and open it with Explain Everything in your browser. What you'll end up with is the same situation as I demonstrated on my tablet computer, is that you're going to be able to create, to edit your project, provide responses, and then you can share it back. How to share it? There is a limitation in the browser version of Explain Everything because you cannot share image or project, but you can share results in a form of an access code. In order to do that, you need to log in, because without logging in, you're not able to actually share. So you need to sign in to create a new account or use account provided by a teacher to save your work. So that's what I'm going to demonstrate now. I used my student's account that I created before, but you can create your account even at the moment of working on your assignment. That's not a problem. If you never did it before, you can do it at any point of time. The difference is that if I rewind a bit back, the difference is that if you're not using account, you have this bar here at the bottom of the screen that says sign in. And yeah, to save your work. If this bar is not visible, that means you already have an account that you can use. So I logged into mine, and as you see now, this bar disappeared, so I can save my work in the cloud. Or if I did a video, because that also might be a result of your work, you can just create web video link here. Since it was not a video, this assignment was rather a static one where I just need to provide answers. What I need to do is to share result in form of a code. And to do that, instead of creating web video link here, I will click this button, invite, to invite teacher to collect my results. And this will convert this project into a session that will be accessible under this code here. So all I need to do as a student, or as you, Kuba, as a parent helping your young student, is to provide this code back to the teacher for grading or assessment.
All right, so then I'll just get back using my LMS or other ways. I will provide this code or this link to my teacher, right? So by clicking on share, and then it will just copy that, right?
Exactly. And
yeah, okay.
It would be hard for us to cover all possible ways you can receive file or return code, but we can imagine that this should not be a problem because it's going to be something that teachers already covered, how they are going to communicate with you and with your young student. So that's what we assume.
Okay. All right. So do we have another section, or can we?
We can move to and we can answer questions. We can move to Q&A because these are the 3 situations that we prepared for you.
All right, awesome. All right, so the questions aren't really related to this topic today, but I think they are fairly common, so we'll be happy to answer them. So one of the questions is, well, we've covered that, so some of that already in our previous webinars, but one of the questions is, what is the license? What does it mean to have 1 to 9 seats? And there are follow-up questions to that, because I've tried to answer those questions in the chat, though, you know, it's a more complex answer to that, though it's fairly simple once you do this. So essentially, what is a license and what is necessary for my students to join my lesson, and how do I create a lesson and provide interactive lesson to them. So yeah, it's a fairly complex question because there are so many ways you can do that.
Right.
And we've covered a lot of that already in the previous webinar we had around scenarios for remote learning, and I'll point towards this whole webinar that covers all 3 scenarios, and that should be a good resource for you to check if you want to create a lesson like this.
Is that this one? Is that the one that you?
I think that was the one with Roshan, one of the 2.
Okay, so that would be the one.
Yeah,
I guess
remote
this one.
learning. Yeah, this one.
Okay, so I'll just take it out from the web browser for you to know which resource to use in order to understand well how licensing works, because it's something that we covered there, but we also spoke about in detail licensing, I guess, during this one, active learning. So I'll take it out for you because we do have those great resources on YouTube that you can look into where we provide detailed responses to various topics. So, but essentially, what is the license? A license allows you to use Explainer Everything to the fullest extent in terms of like functionality. There are limits to the account that you can create for free. The free account has limit in duration of recording, in number of slides, or number of projects. If your student, if your child needs to create just one response on Explainer Everything to something, maybe no license is needed at all. He or she can use free license to Explain Everything. But if it's more complex work, or it's a work that will continue throughout the school year, then we suggest that the license is provided by school, or that's in some situations, it's the parent that purchases a subscription for student. So in this situation, we suggest to look into those 2 videos where we provide more details about licensing and how it works.
Right. The basic rule of the thumb is that if you want your students to work on their own with Explain Everything, they will need a license. and you can provide them licenses by purchasing the group plan for your school or for your class. If you don't need them to work on their own, you can just invite them to an ongoing session that you've created. Though, if you are not in the session you've prepared, if you're not in the project, they won't be able to join. So that's the difference between the two. All right.
You actually provided answer to the second question. What is necessary for my students to join a lesson? So yes, that's a brilliant answer. If you have subscription, ask students to join. If you don't, well, as a teacher, if you don't have a subscription, with those limitations, you could still work with Explain Everything, but we strongly suggest to go beyond those simple freemium limits and just subscribe to our platform, as it is quite inexpensive from teachers' perspective, I believe.
Yeah, you can try it out for sure with the free version. You can see how it works for you once you set up your account. So feel free to explore that with a free account and then see how it works for you. I'm just going to mention the two previous webinars we've posted here. These go in depth on how to make your remote teaching and remote learning possible with a couple of options, because there's the ability to stream like we do. Right now we use Zoom to stream our whiteboard. Right. That's also what is possible with Explain Everything, right? And you own your license, and then your students join in through a conferencing app. That's how you can go about it. But if you want them to interact with you on the whiteboard, it is necessary for you to invite them, and so they can join your whiteboard, right?
Absolutely. And actually, that's a great tip to look into, let's say, this webinar, to understand all three options that you can use Explain Everything for teaching remotely. Because broadcasting through Zoom as we do now, or through YouTube, does not require your students to have license to access your broadcast. But if you want to work with them, as Kuba suggested, that's the collaborative project. And there it would be better, it will be more full experience if you have a subscription for your group of students.
I think we can illustrate that even. We have enough time to do that, because there's one more question that we've received, and we will cover that in just a minute. So why don't you set up a session like this one, and I'll join in as without a license, like a free user, right? No, so because we've already covered that, but I think it would be great to just go through this again, just so that I join in and do something with you on the session.
Sure. So let me pretend that I'm a teacher and I want to create a group project, and I will participate together with my students. And Kuba now changes role. You're not a parent anymore. You're a student without a subscription. Is that correct?
Yes. I'm not signed in. I don't have an account. Yeah.
So I do have one. So I'm starting my project using this invite button here. If I would use new, I would create a new local project on my tablet, and then I would have to move it to the cloud. But I need a cloud project, so I hit invite, and I'll start with a blank canvas, because I keep some elements stored in memory that I'll use for this project, so we at least have some content on the canvas. I'll mute my microphone. This is what I'll be exposed to. This is an invite window where I see the code that I can now share with my students using, let's say, Classroom here, or mail, or I can send it as message, or whatever you have loaded on your device will show up here as integration point. So you can share this code, or you can just type it anywhere that you need in the form of code, access code. And you can use this as well to join if you like. So that's the code, or you can change the code into into a link. All you need to do is to add this domain in front. This will create a link out of a code.
Right. So I enter the explaineverything.com website and I see this link of yours here, or I'd say I've received it via email, and I'll just CZALDCDG. Okay. And
So I'll show you that as well. I'll connect to this canvas as well in the browser, because I do have a browser on top of my canvas. As you notice, now explainer connected. That's Kuba. Hey, Kuba.
Hello.
That's Kuba here. And I'm going to join as well. Explain everything. I'm trying to replicate what you did, Kuba. So you came here, right? And you chose.
So while you do it, I'll explain what I'm doing right now. So you see, I'm not signed in. It says explainer. It's, an anonymous account right now. I don't have an account. I just typed in the code and entered. And now I am able, since Bart allowed me to edit, I am able now to just, type something in, move something. I can add an image from clipboard, and I'll just do that. And just add a smiley face.
Nice.
And I can move it around, right? All right. So there's no substance right now, but you can see what I'm doing. So even though I don't have an account, I am able to join in with Bart and do something on the whiteboard, right? But if so happened that Bart left this project, I would be disconnected because I don't have an account. Right?
You're sure about that? Okay.
Yes, I think so. Well,
so just keep in mind that the teacher needs to be present if students without registered account attend the collaboration.
Right, because that's the safety valve, right? Valve, I guess. You don't have to worry that someone without an account would mess up your project just because they know your code, right? You don't want that. You want to be in there and see if someone just joined in and see what they are doing, right?
Right.
But if, say now, okay, right now we can work together and do something together, even though I don't have an account, you don't have an account as your, the second explainer. But right now, I'll leave the project right now, and I'll sign into my account and join the back again with my own account.
While Kuba is doing so, if you paid attention to what I was doing in the meantime, I logged in using this browser here. So I'm listed as a second explainer, and actually I can observe me going and doing things on this canvas within this window, because this is a browser that is logged into the same canvas. So this is a quite crazy scenario, but I just wanted to illustrate to you that it's still possible to do that. Oh, Kuba, I see that you joined again.
Yes, and that's right now I'm signed in as on my account. And now you can see my name. Now I am able to stay in the project, even though Bart leaves it. Of course, Bart has the complete control over the whether I am able to edit it or not. But I will be, with the default settings, I will be able to access that. If he wants, he can make it private and I will be kicked out. So, that's also an ability. And you can do that by just entering the invite menu again and setting the permissions for participants. We've covered that as well. So you can just change those, who has access, and select the option that you would like to go with. So those are the basics, right? And as you see, whether I have an account or not, I am able to join in and work together with Bart. But since I have an account right now, even if Bart leaves the project, I'll be able to stay there if he lets me to do so, of course. But the other explainer would be disconnected, right? So
I would be inclined to leave No permissions to edit.
All right. So not right now. My toolbar disappeared. I think I can take a screenshot of that, and so you guys see.
These are suggestions more for teachers than parents, because as a parent you won't be able to change properties of project that was provided by teacher, but we're showing this because a question most probably came from teacher. That's why we're demonstrating that you can change the properties, and this will change the behavior of the whiteboard, as we demonstrated in this first scenario with hiding and unhiding tools for participants. We know how students behave during their first tries, first session, whiteboard session, is that they like to play a lot. Oh, and this is screenshot of your screen after I took the tools away, right?
Yep. No tools here.
Great. Okay, that was a good demonstration. Thank you for that.
A little bit messy. Oh, forgot the group. So that's going to be a great segue to next question that we got. What is the inspector?
Oh, that's a great question. Inspector is kind of like an advanced tool we don't recommend to start with, although it's very, very powerful in terms of what you can do with content on your canvas. And Kuba actually mentioned about grouping objects. Grouping and ungrouping is one of multiple functions that you can find in Inspector. If you create an object, like I'll do the circle here, and if you have, let's say, two objects and you want them to move together, not independently like now, but together, you can select Inspector, group them, and now you can move them together. Or you can ungroup them so they can be moved separately like that. And there are many more options like alignment options. So I'll just want to align them to the top. Options to duplicate those elements, to flip them around, set them in motion, lock their movement. So for example, if I would have, let's say, a slide that I want to use on the canvas, and I'll just pick one page, and I want to present this slide. Sorry, it's here. I added this to the second page. And if I want to present the slide by just restraining the movement of the slide so it moves vertically, not horizontally, I can do this with Inspector. So I selected the slide, I locked this movement, horizontal movement. So now when I move the slide, it just goes up. So let's say for a longer text, it would make sense here. Let's say if I take this section here and I want to scroll it, for some reason, I can lock the vertical movement and now it will nicely scroll to the sides. But there are many more options, and I don't believe this is a good moment to go through all of them. It would take us like an hour. But
yeah, there's all the arrangement, yeah, and editing options. Most of them are there. So if you want to do something with an object that involves duplicating, changing layers, arranging, you know, it's all there. Grouping. So yeah, it's a very powerful tool. All right, and there are two questions kind of related to each other from Carlos. Mm-hmm. So the first one is, do the video recordings count on the 500 megabytes of storage? So 500 megabytes is the one you get from, if I remember correctly, is the one you get from the educator plan. So correct. if you're in the group account, you'll get 500 times the amount of seats. So depends on the amount of seats you've purchased, and you'll get that. I think we've changed it. So the answer to the question is yes, but not currently. So it actually should work like this. It should count towards your storage. though we just recently found a bug that prevented it from counting properly, and we're gonna fix it someday, and it will start counting. For now, it doesn't, but we'll figure that out, and hopefully it will start working as it should. So it by design it should work like this. Right now it doesn't, though the change is coming very, very soon. So the answer is yes. Videos also count towards your cloud storage. So, and the next question from Carlos is in regards to creating videos as well. So can you record the entire explanation using the tool of recording of Explain Everything? Say like 1 hour class, for example, that you're broadcasting live through Meet, and later on share it through the creative web video link. Is there enough storage? I mean, don't using the Meet recording, but the Explain Everything recording. So yes, many people do that actually. And they create like 1 hour and a half long lectures and then create web video links from that. If it's a very, if you do it as usual, if there are not, I don't remember the exact expression, like flashes, if it's not very polished, like it's a natural whiteboarding video that's quite simple and so on, the videos are not that large actually. Of course, they can be, if you have a lot of videos in them and explain a lot and annotate a lot, then they will probably grow in size. But you should be able to record a 500 megabyte session and host it. 1 hour long session, and then save it on your cloud. So yeah, sorry for not providing like a very specific answer, because the size of the video really depends. So the videos on Explain Everything are quite well compressed, so no worries about them taking too much of your storage. As I mentioned, they don't currently count towards it, but they will. So no worries right now, and we'll let everyone know once we have this this thing working again. So feel free to use it right now. So yeah, just short answer to the second question is yes. There are many people doing that actually.
And let me just provide something more to what Kuba expressed in terms of understanding why you can do long lectures, and still those long lectures might be maybe not tiny, but not enormous in terms of space used for recording. Explain Everything recording works in a way that when you create video, it actually, what counts is the size of assets. It's the size of the voice track that is recorded and all of movement. So we don't actually capture frame by frame what's happening on the screen. We actually capture what movement as a teacher or as a user you provide on the screen, what you say, but because that's the voice track, and what kind of assets you used. So playback is kind of like that software repeats your movement, plays back your voice. It's still not a video until you render it as a video. And that's why you can have a very long lecture just writing on top on the Canvas screen, providing your audio input, and it will end up as much smaller file than a MP4 that you can then share with others, until you render it to provide MP4 or video stream to others. And you do this using this function here, create web video link, and it will take the project, again, your project understood as assets, voice of movement, it will take it to the cloud, export it to MP4, and provide you with a link to share. So there is no need to render this on your device. It's a quite easy way to share a video. So let me just demonstrate it real quick. I hit record. This is my video. And I mentioned what sort of video we create with Explain Everything. These are assets, voice, and movement. So 10 seconds, you see my voice, you see my laser pointer that I use, and now I want to render it to the video. So I choose create with video link. And what I receive here will be a link to the video that is visible or just here. My video is actually large, it's 41 megabytes. And Kuba knows the answer. Why? Do you, Kuba?
Oh, sorry. I was trying to find an example, and I think I found one. Sorry.
No. Oh, the question was why, since I spoke about small project size, why this project that I used here for demonstration is so large, 41 megabytes? What's
because you have so many assets in it, like browsers, videos, PDFs, and so on. So
exactly.
And they are all in very high resolution. So
exactly, most of all I used video capture. So I captured myself speaking. So as you see here, this process captured my video that you can see here. It's not moving now because what was captured was what I used this video for, to capture myself speaking. And that's why this project is so large. Okay.
All right. I was trying to find, and I think I found one. Let me just test it really quick, which is gonna be really fun because I have like a 45-minute recording of just drawings, and
oh, nice. Okay.
And we'll see how. And it is quite intense project. A lot of drawings, just nonstop drawing. And I'll check in a second.
All right.
So I think we got one more question. And the share video links also count? Yes, yes they do. Yes, by design they should. That's what I was trying to say. Though, please remember that you can always download your MP4 files from the web video links and store them wherever you want, so that, you know, if you run out of space on Explain Everything and you have like a Google Drive or something like this, then you'll be able to do that in no time, because you'll be able to download that and host somewhere else if you want. If you're embedding videos on your learning management system, then please be aware that if you delete a video, the embedded video will stop working, just like on YouTube. All right. So
yeah, the hour is late, and that's why we're getting a bit crazy here. But
okay.
Yeah. Sorry for that.
But you're making me dizzy, though. No problem, Carlos. No problem. Just reach out to us if you have any more questions regarding this. Because, like I said, the fix to that counting, storage counting, is going to be implemented very soon, and we'll announce that to users who, there's a risk of overflowing their current storage. So, we'll reach out anyway. So just by looking at the project, I have a 45 minutes project of a recording, the project of Explain Everything, not a video yet, and it's just 7 megabytes, the project. So
7 megabytes. Okay.
Yeah, just the project, and I'm just waiting for it to convert, but I don't think, because
7 megabytes for how many?
45 minutes of just drawing. So that's the project, right? Without a voiceover. So if you add a voiceover there, it may add up a little bit more.
Right, of course.
Just drawings just take no space whatsoever.
Right, but if you convert it to MP4, it's going to be larger than 7 megabytes.
Right. So yeah. So I was trying to do that, though the video was sped up in iOS version of Explain Everything, so I'm not able to check that. So because it converts into a 2-minute video, because it was sped up 16 times, and right now it's 3 minutes, and it's still 7 megabytes. So Right. Yeah.
It's fantastic. Thanks for that, Kuba. Well, we hope
Cheers.
we hope we answered your questions, and we definitely went beyond suggestions for parents with this Q&A section that made everyone dizzy at the very end. So sorry for that. We'll trim this part in the final recording of the session, but we hope you enjoyed this. We hope to see you next time. Tomorrow, we do provide webinar on use of Explain Everything on computers, not tablets, but computers without multi-touch screens. So if that's the topic that interests you, join us tomorrow. And yeah, today we thank you for being here with us. Thank you, Kuba, for helping with session. And
my pleasure.
All of those.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. And thanks to everyone who joined. And see you on the next webinar, and happy explaining.
Happy explaining. Thank you. Bye.